Okay guys, so in this video I'm going to walk you through the project menu, explain to you what each section of it is used for a particular production, right? This is the project level, the production level, and explain like how all these items are used. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through the menu on the project level, right? So for a single production, when you're in the organization level menu, you click on project, and then you're going to have all your projects listed out there. You click on the project you want to view, and then this is where you're at. You end up here at the project level, right? The production level. So first item on our menu, top left, is the cost report. This is the most critical document, in my opinion, in production accounting, because it tells you, as a producer or a studio, exactly where the project is standing financially. It doesn't just show you, what you have spent, but it actually combines those actual payments that have been made with your unpaid commitments, and then also your estimated remaining cost, right? Those together show you what you should be spending in the very end. It's called your estimated final cost, or EFC. This is what a producer is going to use to spot budget problems. Obviously, if the EFC is higher than the budget, then you'll know what line items are over budget and what you need to bring down, right? And then you can also see if the EFC for a particular line item is lower than the budget, then that allows you to understand that you have some room there, right? So you can move items to other, basically other lines. Your next here is your ETC. This is the tool used to forecast basically the future for your production. It answers questions basically saying like, how much more money do we need to finish for this particular item? This allows you to enter a cost that hasn't yet had a vendor decided on, or like a location. You don't know where you're shooting at just yet. It's happening at the end of the production. You don't know what that vendor name is. So this allows you to earmark that money, right, as a commitment of some sort, without having an actual name attached to it. Then let's go down to your POs, purchase orders. I think everyone understands that. These are just basically your commitments, your commitment to spend this money on a particular vendor of some sort. So these have been approved and reserved from the budget before that expense actually occurs. Then we have our overages section. This tracks costs that exceed the original budget. So these are usually something that are approved after you've already started. You've locked your budget, you have a final locked budget, right? Then you need to go get an overage and approved because they've added on something significant that's going to eat up out of your contingency. So you need to get an overage approved. If that's the case, that overage plus your original locked budget will form together, when you add them together, your final budget in the cost report. But this is where you enter these overages. Funding, this basically tracks the money coming into the project. This is not for anything to do with finding funding or raising funds, right? I've had this question before for your project. This is literally just the monies come in from the executive producer or whoever's financing the film, the studio, and it's in the production services bank account, production service company's bank account. It has now been funded, right? So you've been greenlit and you have the funds available. That's what that just does. It basically tracks that. The next is reports. Here you're going to have things like your general ledger, your trial balance, cash flow. These are essentially mandatory for audits and financial reviews. Next after that's your payment sections. This records your money going out. Basically, in a lot of other account software, they call them bills. We call them payments because these are payments made to vendors, payments made to crew, and then usually once a week, the production accountant will get the bank statement and then go and reconcile and make sure everything's been paid. Petty cash, this is petty cash management. This is where we track the advances, and so we actually create an envelope in here. It tracks the advances going out, then it tracks the expenses coming back in, logs the receipts. This is actually where some of that AI functionality happens, where you can you use it to get a snapshot of the receipt, and it logs it. You double check it, make sure the amounts are correct. When you also are taking that photo, it also is archiving that photo in there as well for the digital wrap book. And then once it takes those costs in, it deducts it from the petty cash balance. So we can actually see how much cash in hand you have versus how much that you have have returned, right? So like this shows all the balances of each envelope and to who they're to and for and that sort of thing. Next is payroll. This is very, very basic. This handles, basically all of your payroll wages. It is set up so that you can set up a payroll run to be however many days you want it to for a period. Later on, we're actually going to have time card integration into that. That's one of our next steps on a phase 2 feature, so that it actually handles your contracts and your time cards, and all of that is integrated. So once crew has signed online digitally, then it basically sends them time cards, and they're responsible to fill those out. Once they fill out and log it, the time card for each payroll run is tied to those particular dates, and then as long as they submit it, right, that payroll gets submitted to the bank. Crew, this is where you manage all of your personnel for the project, everyone from producers, line producers, actors even. It's anyone at all. So it's basically anyone that needs to get paid. Even though your actors are not crew, they're under this. We'll probably at some point be reflecting that to say personnel. Then contacts, this is basically access to contacts across your entire organization. So in order to be crew in this production, you have to be a contact first. So as long as they have been already added to, say they've worked on another production for you, all you got to do is just add them now to the next production, right? They don't need to re-sign up, submit, any kind of information, right? All their information is already in their own Periscope account. Budget menu, this is where you upload your actual production budget. It's very, very simple. There is a CSV file that you can download and input the numbers and then re-upload it. As well as we have our own budgeting software that has literally a one-click button. You click it and it shoots it over to Periscope Accounting, asks you which project to put it into, and then it enters it. It's very, very quick, very, very fast. Much easier and more streamlined than working with like Movie Magic budgeting, going over to PSL, that sort of thing, or to Green Slate. Finally, settings allows you to configure your project-specific details, very similar to kind of like your organization level, but on a project level. This is where you're going to set up approvers for all of your POs, your ETCs, right? So what line producer, production manager, accountant, that sort of thing is going to be approving, and who can be these makers as well. So, like a normal film will have your coordinators, right? For your art department, right? They would have a coordinator that would be even requesting POs and that sort of thing. So this is where you set all of that access. And that is the project level menu.